What flex layout? Difference between the flex and grid layout. Well, answer. Flex layout is a flexible box layout. It's provide a more efficient way to align and distribute space among the container of content, and it is easy to handle dynamic sizing. So there are lots of basic difference between the flex and grid layout. So the first one is the dimension. Flex layout is designed for one dimension, either or row or column. But on the other hand, the grid layout contains two dimensions. It has also row and column. Designer handles the two row and column at the same times, and it's very efficient to handle. Second question: explain CSS position property. What are the difference between the absolute position and relative positions? Well, uh, positions property wisely in order every container box like pattern or web page layout, or it's used to align the different element content in the HTML place. There are 5 positions properties in CSS, such as statics is actually default, relatives, absolute, fixed, and sticky. So some difference between the second, what is the difference between the absolute position and relative position? So there are some difference between the absolute positions and relative positions. Absolute positions, it takes the completely out of the normal flow in the page layout, and the rest of the element on the page are certain. The absolute positions like element simply does not exist. Okay, for the position absolute, you are using absolute for the position is top, bottom, left, right, like this. And the other hand is we are using the relative positions. It actually then the place the position where it's the last access element which has the positions attributes or of anything. Then the statistics, if and if we are use the position property, then it's very by default statics. Okay, so what is the box modeling, and what are the difference between the difference element of box modeling? Okay, so the box modeling means the designing and layout of the content area. In CSS, box modeling is the essentials a box the web around the HTML element, like margin, border, padding, and main content. For example, I said content is the main box, while there the content like text and image appears and contain the height, and there's the content the height and width properties. I mean content. And padding is clear area around the content. Okay, the padding is the transparent, and or sometimes it's actually background area is the background area is the content, and the padding area some or something. Okay, border a border that's go around the padding and of the content, and we can use lots of properties of for these borders, like say border size, border color, border radius, border types, lots of things. Okay, lots of property has border. And margin is the clear area of outside the border. Margins also transparent, and it's actually used for the make some gaps between the two content. So what is the hover effect, and what's the purpose of active class, and what is the pseudo class? Okay, pseudo class. Well, the hover is an effect for making making attention for user. Basically it's catch user attention. Whenever user move his mouse on any element, then the element or component, then the component has changed with the graphical interface, like it changes color, his types, lots of things, his radius, border, anything. And active. So what is the power of active class? So active pseudo class is the commonly used for actually hyperlink, link, or bottom button element, represented and element such as button that's being the active by user. Basically a pseudo class. Oh, okay, what is the pseudo class? So pseudo class is a selector that select the element area of the specific stage. There are the first element either type, there are the being the hover over their mouse on the pointer. Okay, so question number 5: what are the different type of selector in CSS, or the difference between the class selector from the ID selector? Okay, so different type of selector in CSS. So in CSS selector we are used HTML for style over them. uh, just style, for the style purpose we are use the selector. Okay, there are the different kind of selector we know, such as simple selector. Simple selectors is means the name, class and ID. ID is very unique. Every elements has different ID. It's not by default, we just provide it. And the class is very common. Lots of element has the same class. It's also not by default, we are provided a class for the designing purpose. Combination selector, the second one is combination selector. Combination selector, the select element based on the specific relationship between them. Pseudo class selector. Pseudo class selector, the element is based on the certain state. Okay, pseudo element sector, it's a select and the style a part of an element. Attribute selector, select based on the attribute and attribute below. It's sometimes the jQuery or JavaScript DOM manipulations. We lots of we are you are basically use that time the attribute selector most of the times. And the most important thing is universal selector. Universal selector is basically whenever we are used a design a full website, then firstly we are provide the all of the element, all of the content has zero padding, zero margin, zero the same property. Then we are use the universal selector. It's just star type symbol. Okay, I will show you some difference between the class and ID selector. Yes, I will also discuss there. Okay, so I already solved there the 5. I already told the 5 question at the same time. Okay, that's enough. Thank you for listening me.